So the first thing that you want to do when you start with marker is you want to check your paper. There is a side that is slightly shinier than the other side. The shiny side is the back side of your paper. So it's pretty subtle, but you can also feel it a little bit where it's slicker on one side than the other. Paper has a couple different qualities. There's soak and resist are two common qualities for the paper. Soak is how much it will absorb, and resist is how much it does not absorb. Marker paper has a resist applied to the back to keep things from soaking through it. So if you try to draw on the back of your paper, like I was trying to earlier, you will just perpetually move around the ink and re-wet it, and it won't actually have ever absorbed it, so you can't blend anything effectively. If you draw on the correct side, it soaks and disperses through a little bit of capillary action, not too much, because it doesn't want to like really bleed out. But you can actually do some blending. This paper is quite thin, which allows you to do more blending using things like colorless blenders or other markers, or even like a lightly soaked alcohol swab will work for that as well. If it's on this side, you can blend and move around to your heart's content, but it's going to stay streaky and messy. I was like, I don't remember this paper doing that. Oh, I was on the wrong side. Watercolor paper has a similar thing going on, and in which only one side is open to actually having that capillary action go into the paper. One thing that is different about markers than colored pencils, if you've used colored pencils before, it's largely about laying down layers, and you can layer different colors together and get some optical blending. Markers, it doesn't happen as much. Really, if you're going to draw a lot with markers and you love them, you want to start building your collection, because you will want lots and lots of different markers. Unlike colored pencils, where you can kind of build a great deal of difference, or even graphite pencils, where you can build a great deal of difference between the values, markers are a little bit more locked into it. You can do some layering, but mostly what you see is what you get as far as the actual color. When I work on markers, I always have another page next to me that is for swatching and for cleaning off marker tips from blending stuff. So that's going to be this paper over here. So initially I'm going to swatch this color. This is Sage, and this is one layer. You might, like, don't blow out the color here, computer. One moment. Okay, hopefully that stays. You can do a second layer and get it a bit darker. And you want to let it dry and soak into the paper a little bit between layers. And I might be able to eke out a third layer that is yet a bit darker. But they're pretty close in value. This is pretty subtle. The marker solution to that is either to grab the color that is the next value down. So I have this green-gray. I really have to swatch it, because even though this looks like maybe it could be the next value down, the swatch won't lie and the marker cap will. This might not be a bad version though for whatever's in shadow that is this color. So usually I grab a bunch of colors that look kind of similar, and then I'm swatching them out to start with, to decide, yeah, maybe I could pair those two together for shadows. The other option is that you can grab markers that are the gray tones. There are warm grays, cool grays, neutral grays. There's a whole family of just gray out there. And this one is warm gray number 4. I don't know how high up the Copic scale goes for this because there are also ones that do by percent. So this is warm gray 80. I would guess that number 4 is about 40% because I'll show you 80% in warm gray. And 0, this is toner gray 0, which is almost nothing. So I would guess that this is like a 3 or a 4 on my total gray value scale. Doing markers is also about layering, and you can do it a couple different ways. Either you can work entirely in color, or you can do all your base layers of your light and shadow with your grays first. And I'll show you how to do both of those. Let's start with our grays. Yes.
As we approach our project, would you say there's a must-have,
like set of colors?
Yeah, like make sure you have a gray, or make sure you have, or does it really matter?
It is just really going to depend on what you're rendering.
Okay.
I think if you render a lot in markers, you end up either ordering or going to the store for markers a lot. That has been my experience. That is one reason why I personally get, with my watercolors, I can mix any color at basically any value. That's why I love watercolor. Markers is a big financial investment because each of these are about $4. So if you're going to do grays though, I would say something at about your 40% and then something maybe more at your 80% because you can layer your 40% a little bit to build it up. That's probably the gray that I would use the most, is a warm or a cool gray at 40% or neutral. It says so. Well, this one says number 4, so my guess is that equals about 40% if it's a 10 scale. I can look it up for Copic. Blick Studios.
About the numbers on the pens?
On the, yeah.
Those are, so I'm interning for
Oh, good.
a woman who loves
Markers?
Yeah. These are her markers I'm using. And she actually sent me home with this today.
Oh, cool.
So the BG, or the two first, the letters
Uh-huh.
are the hue.
Yeah.
The first number is saturation, and then the last number is the value.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this one is just W4, so I would guess that's a saturation of 4. Or maybe it's just a value because there's no... Oh, there wouldn't be saturation for a gray. Because
by brand, what brand is that? This is
The Copic.
CC,
Yeah. Or Copic.
They
Copic.
have like their own color scale too. Like
Yeah.
17.
Yeah. The Blick ones, which are pretty comparable in quality, just say 80% on them. So, and then Prismacolor, I can't remember what, Prismacolor also has a percentage listed on the side. Oh, I stole all of the blending markers, so when we get to that, we'll pass them around, but they're up here for now. I'm going to start with this gray 50%, and then maybe I'll grab this number 4. We'll see. And I'm going to start with this sphere, and I'm just going to do part of this. Oh, it picked up a little green from somewhere. Another good thing is to just make some marks on a piece of paper to make sure that it hasn't blended anything else lately and picked up that color. And I'm going to use this to color everything that I want at this level or darker. I really like the brush tips. That's probably because I'm a painter. they also tend to have a chisel tip side, which is really good for when you're doing geometric things or things where you want a really nice smooth edge. I'm now, let's see, this was 50%. I think I'm going to take, we'll try this warm gray. This said it's warm, but that looks so cool to me because it looks violet based. I'm going to layer another gray on top of it. And when I'm doing marker, I like to try to keep my strokes what I call describing the shape. I'm accidentally going outside my lines here a little bit. If you keep your strokes kind of following the same path, any overlappiness at least gives it definition and like texture that describes that shape then, rather than going against it and ruining an effect that you're going for. And then, what do I have? Do I have anything lighter? Maybe not. Maybe I'll try to use this Toner Gray 0 and just use it to barely bring in the top of my sphere towards this like shiny area. Okay. My sphere looks like it's a little wonky here.
Is it possible to start with pencil and then erase it, or will it show?
So on this paper specifically, my recommendation is to draw whatever you want in pencil on another sheet and lay the paper over it, because you will be able to see it through. I have this example here, which I actually traced in pen, but there's a pencil right next to it. If I grab this and set it over, I can see through the paper, just like tracing paper, and that's what I do. Otherwise, your marker picks up that graphite and it gets the pores clogged in the brush tip. So I have this like relatively figured out. It's a little bit of a hot mess, honestly, but we'll get it there. I'm now going to choose my mid-tone, which I think what I had for my mid-tone was it this olive green? No, that's the way dark one. That one's really light, but I do like it. I'll do this one, this olive green. I'm going to now bring in my color because I've put in some of my shadows beneath it. And go ahead and layer this over top of all of my toning. I'm putting in a second layer here to kind of darken up that shadow. And it lets me get some amount of variation, at least in this marker. Whereas before, if I had tried to layer this, I would start there and I'll continue layering it as you'll see this somewhat done in the next one, actually. The other option is to try to pick a color family and blend between them nicely. I like to start with my lightest colors and work towards my darkest colors because you notice less pickup of the color if you're working light to dark. So I'm going to start here with my pale green, and I'm just going to create that initial highlight spot and then a little bit outside of it. And then I'm going to grab my next darker color, which is this sage, and blend that at the edge. And I'm just, once again, keeping these strokes curved. That way, if I end up with any layering, at least it's making my eye travel along the right shape. And then I think I can go to this green gray and use that to finish out my sphere. I can bring a colorless blender in to try to blend this together a little bit more. What the colorless blender has is it has the alcohol medium that is in these pens, which is usually some type of ethylene. And it can pick up some of that pigment that's still towards the top of the paper to try to blend it together. You do want to do this pretty soon after you initially lay it down. The more this is dried, the less it's going to be effective at picking things back up, because it's going to soak in all of the ethylene from the marker to try to get that rehydrated. And then I also keep some paper nearby to clean off the tip. If you just clean off the tip right after you use it, then you save yourself nasty surprises. So that's kind of my spheres. I tend to like this way better, but like I said, it takes a lot of different markers. This would take fewer different markers. I would just probably go through my gray tones faster. Most of these markers are refillable, so you can buy like refill cartridges for them, and those are less expensive than the original marker. So if you invest in a marker, you can also refill with a different brand's inks most of the time, especially if you're going between like the Blick Studio and the Copic, and then like the Winsor Newton Pro marker and the Prismacolors are pretty similar. I do want to talk a little bit about the differences between some of these markers as well. I will make that another video. So this is my blending for spheres and a bit of other information video.